minute to refresh my beverage.
Hey everybody, we're about to get started here. Can everyone hear us?
Check 1, 2. Can everybody see my screen, see my beautiful face, and hear my wonderful voice? Excellent. That's good. All right, we're going to give everyone about 60 seconds to get in here because obviously, boy, what a day. I put that in our Discord channel. That was popping into my head about 6 times today. And also it reminds me I haven't watched Gladiator for a couple years, so I got to get back to that. But are you not entertained? If you're a momentum trader and you didn't make money today, guys, I don't know what to tell you. But, to be fair, I probably would have screwed something up on a day like today when I first started too. So if it wasn't the day you were looking for, that's okay. Guess what? The market's going to be open tomorrow. Unless we get hit by an asteroid or something, in which case, none of this matters. Okay, that's great. That's great. All right, so like I said, we'll give everyone just another minute to get here, because obviously we're doing this in a different way. We get, guys, the response to these Q&As has been great. So we're trying to make sure everybody can get in, and obviously we had some issues with that in Discord. I'm going to be honest, just between us kids here, I'm not a huge fan of Discord streaming anyway. It's okay, like it does all right. Let's see. Before we get started, guys, I just put this together really quick. These are the next couple events I'm going to be doing, guys. We're gonna skip the usual Q&A next week. We're going to do an event Tuesday morning and an event Sunday evening. So we'll remind you, and I'll have Josh set some things in the Discord channel and event reminders and all that. But so this coming Tuesday, we're going to be we're gonna start an hour before the markets. We probably won't go the full hour. It'll probably be about 45 minutes. Give everyone a chance to reset for the market opens. But I'm gonna take you through what somebody asked me about my routine last time, and it kind of got my brain going. So I'm gonna go through my routine in front of you guys, which usually starts about an hour before the markets start. Where the things that I look at, the labels that I put on my charts, areas that I'm gonna be watching, right? So we're going to do that on Tuesday. So I hope that will be helpful for you. Then on Sunday, not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday at 5 Eastern, I'm going to do my goal setting speech, guys. The event I did for my mailing list last night kind of brought this up. And so it's about setting the right goals. And obviously we want to get funded, right? We want to make X amount of dollars, but I'm gonna tell you from experience, setting those types of goals can be they can be completely antithetical to what you're trying to accomplish. And yes, I just dropped a nice little SAT word in there. So we got that. Hold on, let me pull up another tab to get off the screen here. Okay. So first of all, how did everyone do today? Everyone hang on. And I'm not necessarily worried. Listen, we all want to make money, or we all want to, pass our evals, or, get funded and do well in funding. But so when I say, how did you do today? I do mean P&L, right? What else do I mean? I also mean, were you in control today? Did you not let trades go against you, right? Heavy against you? Did you not, were you in control of your trading? Things didn't get away from you. If you're a newer trader, and even on a big Momo day like today, you didn't make a ton of money, but you were in control mentally and in your mechanics throughout the day. That's great. That should be what you're shooting for as a newer trader, okay? And guys, we are doing, obviously it's a little different with the chat, so I have that on another screen. It's just right here. But if I miss something or I don't respond right away, please forgive me. We're all kind of dealing with a little bit of a learning curve with this. Okay. So let's talk about today, and then I'm going to open things up for questions. But guys, this is first and foremost Q&A. So if you got a question while I'm talking, fire it in there, and we'll go. A couple good trades pre-market. Yeah, I've never really. Maybe it's just because I'm lazy. I try to keep most of my trading within the regular, the New York hours, the cash hours, right? It's just it was just so drilled into my head as a newer trader, especially as a newer trader who went from small caps into options, that liquidity is king. Okay, we want to, people, all the algos, futures traders, we love the algos, right? They're out there providing liquidity. I know there can be some slippage in crazy times, right? But, missing a point or two on the NQ or half a handle in the ES, that's fine. I used to trade options that were dealing in, $2.50 by $2 spreads, right? $2.50 by $2. I mean, it's 50-cent spread. It doesn't sound like a lot, but man, that's, you're looking at 20%, right there. So you're having to bid things and sometimes wait an hour to get filled. And futures, you want in, you can get in, right? And not that we shouldn't set, because I've heard people complaining about getting slippage like in the NQ, and I kind of want to say, like, what, first of all, there are such thing as stop limit orders to get in and get out, right? And second of all, again, I'm not a scalper. I'm not playing for the smallest amount of NQ that I'll take in profits, usually about 15 handles, right? So like from 200 to 215, and even that's a little light. I prefer shooting for 25 plus handles in the trades that I had, right? Okay. All right. Okay, Mike, good job in your funded account. That's great. Lost $100. Hey, that's all right. That's all right. Smack the market today. Good job. All right. That's great. That's what I like to see. So again, and I'm going to talk about this in my goal setting routine, guys, right? Your whole first year of trading should be getting control of your trading. So what do I mean by that? And I kind of just alluded to it. I've talked about it in almost every one of these Q&As, is just not letting things get away from you, right? And yes, that can mean individual trades, not letting trades go heavy against you, but it also means, not chasing. As I was telling Josh as we were getting set up here, I'm a reform chaser, right? So a day like today, can actually be, if a day like today had happened when I was first trading, it would have been counterintuitive, right? Because I would have chased a lot, would have made a lot of money, and probably would have given it back over the next 3 to 4 sessions, right? But today was just action packed, guys. I want to talk very briefly. Let's see, where was the area that we were looking at early in the day? Okay, so the area that I was really zoomed in on early was sort of this 12-230 level in the NQs, right? Pardon me, I'm still kind of learning a little bit here of trading view. I like it. I'm gonna, I'm on the 30-day trial now. I'm gonna renew for the year because it's fairly cheap. But I just, as I've gotten more and more into the Renko charting, I just think it's a cleaner. It's a little, especially in the NQ, which has some movements. At times, I was moving to a 5 handle Renko chart, but I do like the 3. But anyway, this 230 level, again, you can see that here, and you can see that in this area as well. Let me get my drawing tools, right? Pre-market and into the market, especially right here, right? We get this nice tail. And guys, as I've said before, and if you're new, I am a just because I have the Renko charts up here does not mean I'm not paying attention to candlesticks. One of my first entries into the trading world was Steve Nison's candlestick videos, which I highly recommend them. That's Nison, Nison. I have all the DVDs. That tells you how old they are. I highly recommend anything you can get on your hands on. He's got a lot of books. I don't find the books as helpful as the seminars. Sometimes they pop up on YouTube before they get a copyright strike on them. Go to eBay and search for Steve Nison DVDs. I'm not here to tell, it's hard to tell what's pirated and what's not. I'm not here telling you what to buy. But I paid about $100 for like 25 DVDs or something. And this was like 7 years ago. I got these things. So very, very, very good stuff. And it really, shows you breaks down some of the very basics of candlesticks from one of the guys who first brought them to the West and integrated Western indicators with them, right? And so let's talk about what happened. I didn't trade much in the first half hour, but boy, once we broke below this area of consolidation here, right? So we hold on, let me first of all, why is this so? I don't need. There we go. Let's get that, clean that out here. Okay. So we had kind of this area of consolidation, and this is something Steve Neeson talks about a lot. Can I zoom in here? Let's see, can I get in a little tighter on this? There we go. Beautiful. Okay. One thing is, so what is the first part of becoming a good technical trader, a good chart trader, right? And I don't care if you're looking at the dome, I don't care if you're looking at Renko charts, candlesticks, whatever, is where are the bulls and bears fighting each other, right? Where is it that they're really going to war? And after that 1230 to 1240 level began to break down, this was the area we were looking at. Okay, and when I draw this line, don't look at necessarily the candles themselves. Look at the candlestick shadows, wicks, whatever the case may be, and how many times. So what is going on here? Okay, when we see these, this is I'm doing a little deep dive on this in my weekend summit this weekend, which you still have one more day to sign up for that. I'm going to tell you about that in a couple minutes here. But when you see an area like this and you see candle wicks, doesn't matter how long they are, right? Doesn't matter if they're 1 minute, 5 minute, whatever the case may be. What's going on here? Okay, that means every time within whatever time period it is, and these are 5-minute candles, right? Every time that the price dipped below 200, buyer stepped in. Buyer said, "You know what? Yeah, I'll take it at that price. Yeah, right here." Okay, and drove the price up. Came back down. Some of the same things were happening again, but then it became a battle zone. And this is what really caught my attention. Wicks to the upside, wicks to the downside, wicks everywhere, right? And this was really, really big in terms of seeing it here, seeing it happen on the Renkos, right? I had my book map up as well. You saw big orders coming in from both sides. So at that point, this is telling me whoever breaks out here is going to have control. Now, are there times you see this and it does that? Yes. Guess what? It's part of trading, right? But breaking below this zone, I can tell you, I just closed everything out because I wanted to make sure I had enough resources and the stream didn't skip, right? But right below here was one of my first entries on the day, right? Because this is great. This is right within my risk profile, right? About 12,160. With a stop, not at the top of this zone. Some people put stops at the top and say, well, I'll let it bounce around. No, if it moves back into that zone, for me, that's an out for me. I think I had about a 20 handle stop there, which in the NQ is pretty tight, right? But once we gave up here, guys, it was over, right? And this is where, I mean, you see this was just a huge downturn. I think I had 2 trades through here. I'll be honest, guys, I didn't play the upswing. I was working on stuff for this weekend after I hit my, I don't have a set daily profit goal, right? I do think that's a good idea for newer traders because it keeps you from over trading. Daily stop losses, daily profit goals. I don't want to tell you it should be this or should be that because it's individual, depends on the trader. That's something I work a lot with my mentorship clients on, okay? But there are general rules that if I, especially if I think I was 3 for 4 in my early trades and really held on for a couple of nice winners there. At that point, I had other stuff to do. I'm very cautious about over trading. It's not a problem I've generally had, but I'm very conscious of it and very aware of it because it's a very common problem. As I told you early on, my problem was chasing. All right. So just a second here, guys. Okay. So with that, this is a Q&A. So we kind of broke down a little bit of the markets today. So now I want to kind of open it up to questions. Any questions you guys have related to trading, relating to today, fire away, guys. Especially because the next couple events that we do and I'll put the schedule back up in a minute, are not going to be Q&A based. There will be question and answer during those times, but it'll be 5, 10, 15 minutes at the end as opposed to having a good 30, 40 minutes right now. Do you ever show the trades you place? Well, again, so I'm not a BluSky employee. I connected to Blue Sky through LinkedIn, and I had clients asking me about funded trader programs. I didn't know anything about them, right? Because I have the funding that I need. So but as I talked to these guys and I found out unlike some of the other companies, it's a group of traders, right? Like they're learning, they're good traders or learning, whatever the case may be, right? I'm talking to a group of traders. So these are my people. So we hit it off and they invited me to do some of these and that. So I am. I have for many years, I used to run a daily live trading room. And I worked for the education arm of TradeStation for about 2.5 years. So I was put through the ringer there in terms of making sure I knew what I was talking about and all that, which is not something a lot of educators can say in this business, especially. But I ran live trading rooms for quite some time. For my mentorship clients, I haven't done it for a couple of weeks. I've had other stuff going on, but I tend to do about a once a week room. I'm not like a trade alert kind of guy. And in day trading, in my experience, it's really hard to do that. Because again, even a 5-second lag, guys, in an NQ trade can be 15 points, right? So do I do that? Yes, in an education-based type setting. Do I do it every day? No, because I don't want to sit on the microphone for 3 to 4 hours a day, to be perfectly honest with you. My trading it takes front seat, and the education side it takes a back seat when the trading day is going on. I'm gonna, again, I realize, I can say this and you guys have you guys don't see my brokerage statements or my bank balance or anything like that, but I am literally one of the few guys in this business who does make way more money actually trading than I do on the education side. So, again, I got to look out for me during the market hours. Now, I will tell you this though. Tomorrow, I actually have to take my sister to the airport in the morning, so I'm not going to be trading. Her ride, she's flying out to her husband's from England, and he went over there last week, so she's following him. They're going to stay with his family for a week and then come back. She had a ride all lined up and it fell through, so I'm taking her there. And so what I'm actually going to do, because I'm running this weekend summit where I'm going over my strategies and stuff like that, I'm actually going to record. I'm going to get to the office early tomorrow. I'm going to set up screen recorders on the NQ and the ES. And then for part of that session on Saturday, I'm not going to look at them, right? I'm just going to put them on the screen and talk through things as they're going on. So, okay. How do you not let the massive sell then buy candle not affect your decision making? Big fake out at 10:30. Okay. So first of all, guys, I'm on Central Time, so I'm assuming you mean 9:30. This candle right here. Well, I mean, it's really not a huge fake out, right? Like we started to break down and then we broke down. So this isn't a fake out candle. This is an early candle, right? A fake out candle would be like something like this candle right here, and then we turn and ran, right? Like if this was kind of the breakdown candle, right? And if it turned and ran, then that's a fake out candle. That's nothing but it's just a long tail, right? Now, to be fair, I can tell you, I was favoring, my thesis was a breakout, right? The problem was there wasn't a trade there for me, right? Because if let's say we had broken out, well, now we're right back into this area of consolidation. So there's just, for me, maybe you scalpers can get in here and grab some stuff, and if you did, more power to you. But there wasn't a whole lot for me in there. So I was thinking we were going to break out or break back into the area of consolidation. But I was really hoping, and I don't use the H word, right? Hope, or don't hope when you're in a trade. You can hope for a good trade to set up, right? I was hoping for the breakdown, and that's of course what happened. So. Well, Primate, let me just tackle that right on, right? Because I've been in this business a long time. And what's the first thing everyone, how much do you make this, or what do you do that, or let me see this, or let me see that. I made the mistake early on of I could sit here and pull up a brokerage statement or something like that, and I did that once, and everyone's, well, clearly it's photoshopped or this or that, right? So I just try to bring the credibility by teaching you what I know, right? And it's not going to be for everybody. And I've worked with people that put all their trades out there, right? Every single trade, every single day. And, guys, if you're dependent, like if you belong to some sort of room, okay, some sort of live trading room or alert service or anything like that, I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm just saying I've done that before. When I subscribed to a lot as a customer when I started, you don't learn to trade that way. Okay. I worked with a guy one time who was one of the best traders I've ever met, ran a great alert service, made a ton of people money, and then just walked away from it one day. Just said, you know what, I'm because people were taking the alerts and not trading them properly. It's just like, you know what, I'm done. And then all these people that were hung on him for like a year, well, now what? Now they can't trade. They never learned how to trade. They were just following. So for those, I know some of you were at my event last night. I love the trading education business. I hate the business of trading education and all that's out there. So, all I can do is kind of talk you through, what I saw when I saw it. And hopefully that can, again, my main goal when I'm working with clients, and this is, again, one of the reasons I was comfortable doing some events for Blue Sky, because their main goal is to see you in a successful, profitable, funded account. Right? That's it. That's what they want, and that's what you want. It's one of the few kind of things in this overall trading business where interests are aligning, right? It's nice that they seem like nice guys, like they do. Like I've talked to a couple of them, they seem great, but it's, with you and them, it's a business relationship, and when your business goals align, you both want the exact same thing. That's a good setup. That's why I'm here, guys. It's why they said, "Hey, come do some of these events and help our traders get a little better." Yeah, NQ is a scalper's paradise. I define scalping in the NQ as like less than 10 points. I think honestly, guys, in most cases, not every case, unless you've been doing this a long time and you're really good, and some people are like that. If you're playing for 5 or 7 points in the NQ, flip a coin, right? I mean, that's really what it is. I did a lot of options on the Russell. I used to used to do quite a bit on that. All right, keep the questions coming, guys.
I'll ask you one.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to ask you one. I was going to ask what your journaling process roughly looks like.
Journaling or journey?
Journaling.
Okay, so that's a good question, and I want to do a future event on that, Josh. But I just got, I had used a couple of different journals for many years, and as you and I were talking last week, I just got into Trader Sync. I just started with them. My old records didn't play nice with their importing process, so I just decided, starting like a couple weeks ago, I'm just starting from scratch there and importing the trades there. So give me a couple of weeks to get enough data, and I will walk you through everyone through that whole process. I like their setup because I can put charts in with the trades. They're easily sortable and all that. So I just import the trades and go from there. Now, I will tell you this: when I first started, I was a swing trader, and every trade had its own page in a physical binder, right? Actually, it ended up being many physical binders where I would, at the beginning of the week, I'd print out, I average 15 or so trades per week. So I would print out 20 pages, 3-hole punch them. And it would be, I kept a record, right, in Excel as well, but I would, and actually, guys, this is something I recommend you do, not for every trade, right? Because we're day traders. We can take 10, 15 trades. This would take forever, but you should have a trading journal where it's a record of trades, sortable, whether it's something as simple as Excel or Trading Sync, whatever. You should also have a trading diary, right? And I know we hear that word and we think, teenagers writing all their feelings down, but you should have a trading psychology journal, right? Where at the end of every day, at the end of every week, I don't care if it's 2 or 3 sentences, you write down, hey, I executed well today. I didn't chase anything. I didn't do this or that. I did make one mistake on an entry here, but I recognized it, set a tight stop, and only lost 60, $70 or something like that. If you're not keeping, I went so far as to keep track of caffeine intake, sleep hours. If I like had if I had a beer the night before, or 3 beer, whatever the case may be, I kept track of all that. Now none of that resolved in an edge for me. Although the caffeine, I cut back on my caffeine and actually improved my trading. But that's every little thing is in play, for that kind of stuff. So it's it's a big process, but let's circle back on that in a few weeks when I got some more data and I can go through the whole process step by step. All right, I was just looking at something here when he jumped in about icebergs. A lot of people using icebergs now on Hype. So I know there's some traders out there that trade exclusively on icebergs and moves away or towards whatever. I have not found an edge there, me personally, right? Again, don't, if I say if I say I do this or don't do this, don't assume that's gospel, right? I've seen people trade these icebergs and they're pretty good at them. Just for me and the way I do things, there's not an edge there for me, at least not right now. It's probably something I'll revisit, but it is something. So I have when I'm looking into a trade, right? So I'm eyeing something up. I'm eyeing an entry. I have certain things that I'm looking at. And then I have other things that I call CRCs, confirmations or cancellations, right? And icebergs are one of those. So let's, for example, let's say, obviously the markets are still moving a little bit, but let's say I am looking for a short right here, right? Markets are open. We just broke below 12.1 or 12.200. I'm looking for a short here. But if then I see a bunch of iceberg buy orders stack up, the amount of weight, it's a big player. I'm not going to trade against them. Now, that doesn't mean they're right 100% of the time. This was something I used to love in the options market, and the big players got a lot better at hiding their positions. But 4 or 5 years ago, if you went, had a really good option sweeps algorithm, and a lot of people had various indicators and software programs for that. That was as close to a sure thing as I've ever seen in this business in my years and all of the instruments I've traded, because you could pick up the big boys going, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into big, large cap stocks or index equities and stuff like that. They got better at hiding it, what do the big boys do when they lose one of their edges? They complain to the exchanges, and the exchanges change the rules for them, right? It's going to happen with the icebergs at some point. I think it's already happened in Forex, but in the meantime, as long as the edge is there, we're going to use it. But I don't use it as I don't use it for trade idea generation. I use it to either confirm the trade that I'm in. And actually, if I get some confirmation, maybe I add a little more size, or it will keep me out of a trade if I'm looking for a specific, So if I'm looking for a breakthrough support and we're coming into support, right? And I want to get aggressive with my entry. I'm very conservative on my stops, guys, but I'm aggressive on my entries, right? I want to get in kind of before the move happens, which don't we all? But if I then see something like, again, if I'm trying to get short and all of a sudden heavy iceberg longs come in, I'm not on that trade. Now they're not right 100% of the time, but they're right far more often than they're not. Okay. Let me catch up, guys. First of all, these questions are great. I need, if any of you guys that have attended this sessions know I can take a 30-second question and turn it into 5 minutes. So, I am the living embodiment of that old statement. And I've done talks at various events and all that where it's, if you want me to talk for 10 minutes, I need a week to prepare. If you want me to talk for 20 minutes, I need 2 weeks to prepare. You want me to talk for an hour, I'll start right now. But yeah, so I struggle with the psychology of it. Just passed your eval today. Well, you know what? First of all, congratulations, right? And I appreciate what you're saying there, but you do not feel so confident. That's great, because your work's not done. In fact, your work just started. So you have the right attitude about it. But go back and just look at what you did with your eval. If you pass the eval, at least within that time period, whether it was the minimum 8 days or a month or 2 months, whatever, you're on the right track. So I'm not going to tell you how to trade your funded account, right? Because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you this or that. But how I've always traded my accounts is start very small, right? So if you were trading a few, couple of minis to get funded, boy, I would back that off just to some micros, right? And get the feel of trading the real money. It's going to be different. If you've never done it before, I don't care if it's your money, somebody else, it's the stakes change. The psychology changes. So what I would do, I can't give you advice, but what I would do in your position scale down a little bit, and then gradually scale up. Once you're funded, there's no hurry, guys. You don't have to make, $100 a day to start with. You can start with 50, then move to 100, 250, 1,000, guys, and you just find a winning strategy, trade it till you're confident, and then slowly scale up. And by the end of the year, you're trading 2, 3, 4 minis, and banking a few grand per week. I mean, that's what we all want to do, right? What key tools do you determine daily trends and know when to not trade against it? Guys, mainly for me, it's I look at the VIX, I look at the ADD, the advanced decline difference, and the ticks. Those are the three things. I'm also going to be cognizant of where the SPY and all that is on a 1 minute chart in relation to moving averages. I look at 3 and 8 moving average crossovers as well. I also use this down here. This is that old TTM squeeze that's available on a lot of different platforms. I don't use it for idea generation, but again, if it's showing a move in the opposite direction of a trade I want to take, it may give me caution. It's not going to keep me out of every trade, but it's going to keep me cautious. All right, so how many steps do you do before you start each day? Well, I don't work out until the afternoon, so no. But steps, well, tune in Tuesday and find out. I'm not gonna. I'll dodge any questions on my pre-market routine right now because you're going to get a whole hour of it, 45 minutes to an hour on Tuesday. Okay. Do you have ways personally to determine today, if not a training day for you, that maybe you should sit out? There are days where you get through that first hour, and again, I'm a momentum trader, so I'm not looking for scalps necessarily. So yeah, there's some days that after the first hour, I'm like, well, this is garbage, and I'll give myself 20 minutes away from the markets and come back, right? Between this stuff, between the educational stuff that I do, I'm always looking to, I'm by my computers. I'm always going to be looking for trades. If there's a tight area of consolidation and I can't do anything until it's broken out of there, what I'll just do is I'll slap a couple alerts on the chart, and if I hear it ding, then I come back. Right? I mean, that's don't guys. This is a misconception about trading. Okay, I left my thing on at home. Okay, never mind. One of the misconceptions about trading, right, is I'm a trader. I have to trade today. Okay. Now we're day traders. The odds are, a light day for me is 2, 3, 4 trades, right? I'm usually closer to 7, 8, or 9. But, again, I got started in swing trading. And so there's some days I don't open new trades. There's some days I don't, I have nothing in my account, right? Or no positions. So the misconception of us is, as traders, we don't have to trade any given moment. We should just know what we're going to do when the market gives us the opportunity. Okay. Mark Douglas talks about that in his book, guys. If you haven't read, he has 2 books, Trading in the Zone and The Disciplined Trader. There's great nuggets in both, but they're really kind of the same book in some ways, right? The Disciplined Trader is my favorite. I read it once a year. And he talks about understanding, the great power that the markets have, and yet they have no power over you. The markets do not force you to trade. You are the 100% sole person that determines if you get into a trade or not. The markets may tell you, hey, this is a good trade based on your setup. You still got to push the button, right? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get a little tighter with these answers because I want to make sure we okay, yeah. So Josh put in the chat there, guys, make sure you sign up for the raffle. Okay. Also, guys, I'm going to pull up just one quick thing to show you guys because I know. So this weekend, guys, I'm running this this summit. You don't need me to put the full slide up here. Okay, it's going to run for about 2 to 2.5 hours on Saturday morning and 2 to 2.5 hours on Sunday morning. I'm going to go over all my strategies, deep dive on all the stuff that I do. It's going to be strategy Saturday and psychology Sunday. and you get access to my trading as a business course, right? Because my background is actually in coaching and business and not necessarily in trading. I got into that shortly after I turned 30. And so, you've got to put together a business plan as a trader, right? What's your capital outlay? What do it's now, as a funded trader, trying to get a funded trader, it's a different setup than it is for somebody who's trading their own money. But guys, you still, for any of you guys that get funded right away, that's great. But I would recommend budgeting 2 to 3, at least probably 3 months, probably a little more, 3 to 4 months of your monthly fee, 2 to 3 to 4 resets before you get it, right? I don't know what the average is, in terms of resets before somebody gets funded, but at some point, you've got to budget for some of that. You can't just assume, you get a deal to get this for $140 for a month for the 50K account. That's all I need. I'm fine. Well, if it is, that's great, but you should budget more money than that. Also, guys, Blue Sky's been kind enough to offer anyone who signs up for this event a 40% off coupon, which they don't do very often. So I'm very grateful for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It starts at 11 a.m. on both days, 11 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to put the link in the chat, guys. This is where you sign up. Okay, let me get back to the questions. Okay, do you do any market profiling? So I'm assuming you mean like volume profiles, TPO type stuff. It's something I've gotten into, and I kind of want to know where that is. I want to know where the POC is, but I'm not like obsessed with it. I know people who trade just based on that, right? Almost use the POC kind of as a different type of VWAP. I just have not had as much success in finding an edge there, but I'm somebody who's always learning. I try to budget about 3 hours a week for what I call trader development, right? Watching a webinar, reading a book, or just putting a new indicator on my screen and seeing how it reacts to what I do. Because you have got to constantly sharpen your edge in this business, guys. You have to. If you find 3 strategies that work, you don't assume you're going to trade those for the next 25 years and make hundreds of millions of dollars. The market may completely switch up in a couple of years and none of them work anymore, right? You consistently hone your edge. We'll get a little more into that in the journaling talk in a couple of weeks. Trading in the Zone, you can't go wrong with anything by Mark Douglas. Guys, you can go to YouTube. Obviously, you're on YouTube right now, so don't go into searching and get away from this, but just search Mark Douglas Trading. There's all, he's sadly has passed on, but there's a lot of different events he's done. So if you're like me and a little more, I love to read. I just don't have as much time, so I like to put things on in the background. Anything about Mark Douglas, you can't go wrong with him. The guy is just he's a trader who became almost kind of a psychologist, even though he's not technically a doctor. Dr. Steenbarger's another one. He was a psychologist who kind of became a trader. I prefer Mark Douglas because he's a little less technical and speaks a little clearly for dumb people like me. You only use this platform. No, I use this and I use Edge Pro X. Edge Pro X is where it's through Rhythmic and Phillip Capital and all that is where my main brokerage account is. But I just started using TradingView a little while ago and I really do like it, right? So how do you prepare for Econo releases? So things like FOMC minutes and stuff like that. I shut off my computer and go get a beer. No, I'm kidding. I don't typically trade news, guys. I know it's tempting because of the swings, but if I'm not in a trade and I know the FOMC is coming in, I'm gonna go take it. I'll take my dog for a walk, right? I think it's I don't want to say it's completely a fool or a sucker's game, guys, but it kind of is, right? Sure, you can have a thesis off that kind of stuff, but boy, you're going to get whipsawed quite a bit, right? It's just not, I don't have an edge there. If you do, God bless you, but it's just not where I am. What do you think of ICT? I'm not familiar with the acronym there. Yeah, I do. TD Ameritrade, I literally I put $100 into a TD Ameritrade account like 7 years ago, and I've been using their platform for free ever since. They're going to catch on at some point, I'm assuming, especially now that they're with Schwab. The main thing I use them for is right here. Let me pull it up for you. This is basically the only thing I look at on them on a day-to-day basis. I got the VIX, I got the ADDs, and I got the ticks, right? So if I'm looking at trades, so for example, I do not often take trades that are against of course, I say this, and I did this today, that go against extreme readings in the ADD, right? So when a trade, when something's like plus 1500 or higher, you're not going to typically see me take shorts, right? Again, there are small exceptions to that rule, but in general, that rule keeps me out of a lot more losing trades than you'd think. So this is kind of the internals that I watch on a day, day by day, minute by minute basis. And so yeah, that's what I use for them. But on the plus side, especially with the explosion of interest rates, that $100 is now it's now like $100.26, I think. So yeah, another 80, 90 years, I'll be able to get a cup of coffee at the gas station. Okay, let me catch up here. Recommendations for books, man. Anything by Mark Douglas. The Market Wizards books are great. There's a book called Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. It's a fiction book, actually, loosely based on the life of Jesse Livermore. The book's 100 years old, and it's literally as valuable now as it ever was then. Ask me in the Discord channel sometime when you see me making comments in there, and I'll throw in some Amazon links to those. Yeah, guys, make sure you give the stream a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you'll get notifications, because this seems to be working pretty well if this is what we go with going forward. And these events are recorded and put there so you can refer back to them. Yeah, make sure you give them a subscription. Also, you can search for my channel, Tiresias Trading. I do a live market show Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays after the close. I'm going to expand. I'm actually not renewing my lease on this office because the building's kind of a mess now. So I'm actually building out a studio in my basement at home and putting a lot of professional equipment in there. So I'm really going to be upgrading that show here in the next about 6 weeks and hopefully be running it almost every day at that point. The ADD, are you mainly using it for equity trade? Well, equity futures, right? If I don't, probably about, again, I don't, it's going to be tough because I'm making that transition in the journals, but I'd be willing to say about 80% of my trades in futures are in the ES and the NQ. So those are the, again, those are the equity indexes, right? I do trade oil occasionally. I do trade gold occasionally, but only like setups that I really, really like. What inputs do you take into account when working on your strategies, which doesn't perform good enough anymore? Volatility, volume, net position. Well, like volatility and volume. Well, volatility, obviously, I'm keeping an eye on the VIX, right? On most, although the VIX has been weird the last about 6 months or so. It just hasn't seemed to really be behaving as I've been accustomed to it behaving over the years, which is what I mean by always, refining your edge. Volume, I'm not worried about. If I'm trading the ES and the NQ, I can trade that at 3 in the morning with good volume. Although I don't, I'm not one of those degenerates that wakes up to trade at 3 or 4 in the morning. I know a lot of people like that. If they're sleeping in bed with somebody, that person is usually not there in 6 months if they're doing that often. What do you think about footprint? Yeah, again, it kind of ties in with the whole, volume profile and things. It's stuff I'm aware of. The one thing I do, and again, my Edge Pro X is closed because it's a resource hog, so I turn it off when I'm streaming. Edge Pro X has volume delta on any time frame. So when I'm looking at, and you saw that in these candles here, guys, the volume delta on the ES and the NQ was very negative, right? And that just tells you the sellers took control at that point. So again, I'm just largely, forget any trades for a second and forget, in general, the candlestick or the Renko charts. When I can look at the ADDs, the ticks, the VIX, the volume delta, and I can hear, that creepy audio voice in Bookmap that calls out the icebergs, I can probably, I couldn't trade just off that alone, but I could at least have a pretty good idea of where the markets are going on a 5 to 15 minute basis, just based on those. Trading the overnight market or London doesn't make, well, no, I use that phrase. If you guys are in the Discord channel, I use that phrase to describe myself a lot. So don't think I'm picking on you. But it's, to me, if you're in the United States and you're trading at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, okay, that's a little out there. Now, if you're somebody who works an evening shift and you're home and awake during the, hey, more power to you. But for me, again, liquidity is king. I want to trade when the most liquidity is there. What correlations are you using for ESNQ trades? I'm not sure I completely understand that question. I mean, I just kind of told you the tools that I use for that. You know, I prefer when the ES and the NQ aren't moving in lockstep, guys, right? Because if you know, there's been, you know, especially in the past year or so, where the ES and the NQ. Now, in general, if one is green, 1%, is the other one going to be probably pretty close to 1%? Although the Nasdaq's been a lot more volatile and a little bigger movements over the past few months. But I don't want them trading tick by tick together, because then it's just one instrument. I want two instruments, right? So yeah, it can be frustrating for me when they're trading. Yeah, you know, I just didn't have success with the YM and the RTY. I'll go back to them at some day, I'm sure. But you know, if I'm having the success that I'm having, you know, again, I'm always going to have eyes on other things, and you know, but those are ultimately 4 equity indexes, right? I really don't need that many. So give me a couple indexes, a couple of commodities. I'm all right with that, right? I know a lot of the people that I know that have all those up are typically scalpers. Yeah, I think that's a very hard way to, you know, very hard way to make money is just, you know, scalping for a few points here or there. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's very, especially as a newer trader, very hard to make that. You know, I used to say I'm softening on this particular stance, guys, especially because futures are a lot different. But for many years, I used to say at events like this, it's really hard to become a successful day trader without first becoming a successful swing trader, right? Because everyone I knew took that path. And the reason for that is, if you can't make smart decisions on a 2 to 3 day time period, how are you going to make them on a 2 to 3 minute time period, right? So, and again, there's opportunities within the markets to, you know, to trade around core positions, to, you know, scale into trades, scale out of trades. You know, I typically will go 100% position on an entry and then scale out in thirds or fourths, right? So if I have, just for example, 20 micros, right, I'll scale out in lots of 5, okay, but not always. And sometimes I did this on a couple trades yesterday, you know, one of which didn't end up working out. I scaled in on the downside. Now remember, there's a difference between doubling down and scaling in. Okay, I will never double down on a trade. I will scale into a trade. So if 20, let's just say, for example, 20 micros is my max position size, quite a bit more than that, but not, you get what I'm saying. And I'm not 100% sure on my entry. If I'm thinking, boy, I really like this trade, but this entry's a little iffy, I'll just go in 10 and let the market, you know, if it comes down a little bit, then okay, so now I'm at my max position size, and I've, you know, a little average down a little bit. Don't like doubling down or tripling down when you're doubling or tripling your max position size. That's a recipe for disaster, in my not so humble opinion. Yeah, bonds is something, Jacques. I'm going to add it to my watch list. You know, my dad's retired. He manages his own retirement account, and he loves, you know, bonds and bond funds and all that. DXY, no, I'm not using that. All right, guys. Josh has just sent me the wheel o' names, so I'm gonna load that up. We're gonna give away a free 50K account. I usually give away a coaching session too. I'm gonna abstain from that this time just because I've got a couple still to do. I don't want to get too behind, and I've got this event this weekend, so we'll go back to that at the future events. But just pardon me for stepping out of it one time here. Try to get all the names. And since we're doing it here, Josh, what do you want to do? You want them to reach out to you in the Discord channel?
No, I've got their email addresses too. So,
all right. So Josh will reach out. So this spin is for a free 1 month 50K eval account, and Josh will reach out to you to set that up. All right. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel. Ooh, we just crossed over there. So there is our winner. Christian, congratulations. All right, guys, I will take 2 more questions. And while I do that, I'm going to put this back up on the screen. Again, talking about the summit this weekend, guys. Here is the code again. How does one detox a spine? I don't know. That's tough. All right, 2 more questions. I know there's somebody out there with some questions. Remember, there are no stupid questions, only stupid people. I joke. No, actually, guys, that's something I try to really grind into my client's head when I first start working with them. Right? Ask questions. I don't care how basic or dumb they may sound to you. You know, unanswered question or unasked questions don't get answered. So, what is my strategy? Well, you come to the summit. I'm going to break some of those down for you. How do you manage your losing days? Outstanding question. Thankfully, I don't have as many of them now as I used to, right? But you manage losing trades and losing days the same way. You move on to the next one, right? When they affect you, it's because you don't have the like I know I've been trading profitably for quite some time now. I may make a dumb trade tomorrow. It happens. I may have a red day tomorrow. But I know then the odds of me having, 2 red days in a row aren't very good. And that comes from experience. That comes from reps, right? Like, I'm a sports guy. What's going on right now? Spring training, right? How to, so, I'm not talking about rookies or guys that struggle, but some of the best hitters, like Mike Trout. Mike Trout may go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. Give him the old golden sombrero, right? I bet he's pretty confident he's going to get a hit next time, right? Because he's got a track record. He's been doing it for years. Okay, so maybe he needs to spend a little extra time in the batting cages, right? But ultimately, you get that confidence from experience. There's not really like a golden answer to like, well, how do you deal with that? Well, you get back up, right? That's what you do. But when you spend time on the simulator, and you spend time in an eval account, right? And guys, if you've never traded futures before and you start trading an eval account, I don't know what to tell you, right? You don't have the experience. You're probably going to bust it out. But if you've got a few months experience on the simulator and then couple 3 months, let's say, and you eventually pass your eval, well, now you're sitting with 7-8 months of successful trading. And that's I mean, it's not a huge track record, but it's enough to keep going, right? So, yeah, I mean, you just confidence comes from experience. What's the monitors behind you? That's my little studio setup there. I get the lighting and all that. Like I said, I'm building something a little. It's going to look a little better in my basement. So stay tuned for that. That probably won't be ready for a few weeks, but. All right, one more question, guys, and then we're going to call it a session. All right.
Thanks again, Matt.
Okay, let me answer this last question. Why did you decide to go in education as a successful trader? It's a gregot question. It's because my background, I wanted to be a basketball coach out of college, right? I was a sports management major, and I just, boy, I got tired of not making much money, right? Before you can be a good coach in college, you got to go through high school, and you got to go through lower rungs of the. I was staring at. I'm 40 now, and I'm in pretty good financial shape. If I had stayed in that route, I might just be getting to the point where I make over $50,000, $60,000 a year, and that just wasn't acceptable to me. Okay, I'm not a big things guy. Like I have a nice car, but I don't have a Lamborghini out in the parking lot right there. I'm an experiences guy, right? I've got like 6 trips planned over the next few months, right? And it's a tradition. I take my family to opening day in St. Louis. We're big St. Louis Cardinals fans. So we're going to do that, right? Those tickets aren't cheap, right? Airbnbs aren't cheap, all that kind of stuff. So and I have the flexibility to not have to call a boss on Friday and say, hey, I got to take the day off because my sister's ride to the airport fell through. I got to take her. Right. And actually then Monday I got to turn around and take my girlfriend for a little outpatient procedure for her migraines. Right. So I don't like missing trading days. Right. It's money I'm not making, but I have the flexibility to do that. And so, I got an education that, because I like working with people. I'm a social guy. Trading is lonely and I want other people to have the success that I've had. That's it. So. All right, guys, we're going to call it there. Again, next Tuesday, pre-market, we're going to do a pre-market walkthrough. Guys, I really would love you to join me for the summit this weekend, right? This is for barely just a little more than the cost of 2 resets. If you're somebody who's sitting there with 3, 4, 5, 6 resets, staring down maybe 2 or 3 more, let's see if we can't help you, right? So again, 197. I designed this for you guys. For the Blue Sky crew, because this is, again, it's all designed to help you pass your evals, and then not only pass your evals, but get funded and stay funded. So if you missed the link, it's up there. Otherwise, you can see me in Discord. If you have any questions, guys, just really quickly, because I don't check Discord much during the evenings, but this is my personal email address, matt@TiresiasTrading.com. So you can reach out to me there. I usually get back to all emails usually within a few hours, but definitely within 24 hours. So, all right, guys, I appreciate it. Josh, thanks for moderating again. Everyone be well, and I will see you guys on Tuesday.
Thanks, Matt.